Two Knicks Chicks family, welcome back to another episode of Two Knicks Chicks. It's one Knicks Chicks today. I'm rolling solo dolo. It's your girl, Lady and the Chef. Shout out to Diva Locks. Hope to see her on the next episode. But listen, I got to recap that Knicks Warriors matchup. Um, I was hoping the Knicks would have been able to capture that win. I'm not gonna hold you. I really thought that the Knicks was gonna be able to win that game and take advantage while they were at home before they went out on the West Coast. And the Knicks, that game against the Warriors was kind of like a back and forth matchup. And, you know, it was kind of back and forth. It was a decent tempo game. The Knicks looked in control for the most part. The Warriors were off at the start of that game. Curry was off too. I know he was questionable because of his ankle, but he didn't look like there was anything wrong to me. But he was off. He couldn't buy a basket initially, and didn't look too comfortable early on in the game. But eventually, he found his rhythm. Um, but the Warriors for sure were off, which I don't know. For some reason, I couldn't understand why the Knicks weren't able to pull away and get a more comfortable lead in the game. The Warriors always seem to be right there in that game, watching that game in total. Third quarter comes out, and the Warriors seem to have found their energy in the third quarter. They were taking advantage of the Knicks, out hustling them. Um, the execution was better in the third quarter for the Warriors. Curry started hitting threes. Buddy Hield hit a three right before the buzzer went off. I believe at the third quarter that gave them an 82-81 lead over the Knicks going into the fourth quarter. Okay, cool. Again, I was still like, I don't know, because the Knicks, this game has been close for the most part. The Knicks couldn't seem to pull away. And then the fourth quarter came about and the Warriors defense picked up. The Knicks offense got very stagnant. The ball was going nowhere. Um, and this is something that I've been talking about. The Knicks need a scorer besides Jalen Brunson, a guy who can score and get them baskets. And the stats prove that's what they were missing. The offense was so stagnant, it was going anywhere. And that makes sense now because I'm like, well, why is you can't win games if you only have three guys in double figures for the Knicks. OG Anunoby finished with 29 points. Jalen Brunson finished with 25.7 assists. And Mikal Bridges had 15 points. Precious Achiuwa had 15 points, 8 rebounds. No Karl Anthony Towns in that game. Josh Hart, probably one of his, I don't want to say worse, but not a good performance from him. 8 rebounds, 2 points, 3 assists. Mitchell Robinson played 2 extra minutes, 15 minutes, finished with 7 points, 5 rebounds. Deuce, 6 points. Landry Shamet, 5 points. Cameron Payne, 5 points. It's not going to win you a basketball game with those numbers. And what's crazy is the Warriors didn't really have a bunch of guys that was in double figures either. They had Jimmy Butler with 19. Curry had 28. Podziemski had 19. And Buddy Hield had 15. Field goal percentage, the Knicks was at 44%. They were 8 for 33 from the 3-point line at 24%. The Warriors was not that much better, but they beat them in that at 35%. Free throws, the Knicks were at 80% at 12 for 15. They didn't get out rebound by much, the Knicks, 44 to 42. Knicks finished with 26 assists. They got out blocked 7 to 2. Out steals with the steals. Warriors had 7 to 4. The Knicks had 13 turnovers. And surprisingly, the points in the paint, the Knicks outbeat the Warriors 52-50. So I think you watching that game against the Warriors, you realize the Knicks were missing Towns. They were missing another scorer. And once again, a no-show from Mikal Bridges again. Mikal has been up and down. I'm not putting it all on him. I'm just saying that another game where you didn't have Mikal Bridges, who was active in the game. And the Warriors took advantage of the Knicks not being able to come alive and figure it out in the fourth quarter. The Knicks could not buy a basket. They were off. But what pains me is I'll accept and take you being off, but if you're just going to keep shooting, it wasn't even just threes. It was mid-range jumpers too. The Knicks just couldn't knock them down. But again, at some point, you got to say, well, if the shots are not knocking down, I need to take it in. Nobody was doing that. So the Warriors were able to cruise in the fourth quarter because the Knicks seemed to have lost hustle, lost the effort. So, Warriors snapped the Knicks 3-game win streak. And that sucks. The Knicks, it would have been nice if they would have won that game. But they have a chance to do a rematch against them on I think they played the 15th, Saturday the 15th next week. So now the Knicks are on their West Coast road trip, right? They play Los Angeles tonight. This is their second matchup. Lakers came to New York. They beat us. Hopefully the Knicks get redemption tonight. I'm hoping so, because the Lakers have figured things out as well. They're not the crappy team that they were last year. So they're 39-21, by the way. Knicks played them a late game, of course, because, those West Coast trip games, they're going to be late. They play the Lakers tonight. They play the Clippers tomorrow. And then they play Sacramento Monday. And then they continue that with the Trailblazers next Wednesday. And then, like I said, they play the Warriors next Saturday. So, I don't know. I think if I'm gonna look at, I'm gonna just focus on tonight's game, and I'm gonna focus on tomorrow's game, which is gonna be tough because it's a back-to-back. But listen, I'm team no excuses. You play a professional sport, you got to be able to handle it. I'm gonna put the Knicks at 1-1. That's my predictions, 1-1 for the remainder of this week's games. Tonight against the Lakers, and then tomorrow against the Clippers. I'm gonna go 1-1 for the Knicks, because when it comes to back-to-backs, the Knicks are not always up for the task. And I think that this West Coast road trip is going to be a good test for the Knicks to see how the Knicks need this test furthermore, but to really see how the Knicks measure up against a lot of other teams in the league, especially the West Coast teams. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I feel like the Knicks tend to do well when they match up against teams that are at their level or maybe a level or two below them. Sometimes the Knicks have their way and they're able to prevail and do well against teams that are better than them, but most times they fall short. And I thought the Warriors game up until, I would say, midway of the third quarter, the Knicks, I thought they played pretty decent, pretty well. And then they just kind of like fell flat and couldn't hit the mark and keep their foot on the gas and tighten up the defense and figure out how to stop the Warriors, which is unfortunate. But the Knicks have to figure out how to beat other teams. And you know what? I knew that Curry was going to go off like that. He was too quiet. I was like, he's going to find his rhythm. When they showed him sitting on that bench and he was looking, I said, he's about to come in and do what he does best. And listen, they've been doing well ever since they got Jimmy Butler as well. So I'm not sure, how does the Knicks prove that they're true contenders, at least for this season? I don't see the Knicks going all the way because they're missing some pieces. There's some kinks to work out. There's some kinks to work out. It's not just defensively, it's offensively. We've seen that. That Warriors game was a prime example. Who else was going to score that ball besides Jalen Brunson? Who else? I don't want to hear Dante DiVincenzo. He's not here anymore. I don't want to hear whoever else y'all think that it should be. Let's talk about who's here now. Not sure what's the deal with Mikal some nights where, you know, we know he's more than capable of giving you 20 a night, 20 plus a night. But he has these up and down moments. He's been in somewhat of a funk. He can come out of it and give you 15, 20, 28. But it's not consistency. And I don't know, I said it jokingly, but I don't know if the consistency bug, hit him from the Knicks team. Something that the Knicks lack is consistency. I don't know if that hit Mikal and it's affected him to a degree, and I'm sure he'll get more comfortable and acclimated come next year. And I don't think that he's hit his peak yet on this Knicks team as well. But I'm not sure, how do you get production out of Mikal in the playoffs? Because right now, I feel like Mikal is kind of going through what Deuce McBride was going through when he had to bring the ball up the floor. When Deuce had to bring the ball up and Brunson was on the bench, offense went out the window because his focus was, I got to make sure I bring this ball over the half court without getting it stolen, without losing my dribble. I got to make sure I'm facilitating the ball correctly, running the plays that Tibbs is asking me to play. Once he didn't have to really worry about doing that, granted, he's worked on his dribble. And it wasn't necessarily that. It was that role of point guard was placed on him. And, he was still figuring things out. He doesn't have to really do that as much now. But he's worked on his shot, absolutely. So he's a lot more confident and comfortable. But even Deuce has moments where he's up and down this season. He's been sidelined due to injuries, illnesses. So he hasn't really been fully 100% as well. He's been kind of like in a up and down funkiness, funky mood. And, that's the thing too. Like when it comes to the playoffs, you can't be good for us 1 or 2 games. We need you to be good. Even if it's not in scoring, you got to do the other little things. Some of the things that don't even show up on the stat sheet. And with Bridges, I think that he has one of the hardest jobs on the team, like OG, in guarding one of the top guys on the opposing team. I understand that. But you got to find balance where you can work hard defensively and then still produce offensively as well. And with OG, I think that, I don't know, some nights it just seems to not be clicking. Some nights he's just off, especially from the 3. He's been wildly, severely off. But then, I don't know. I just think that there's some nights where I'm just like, he just seems to be playing in the background. And I'm like, we need you to come to the front. When OG was out with the foot injury, I was looking for Mikal to step up and say, okay, I could take some of the load. And I wasn't really seeing that. So again, and this is not a bash Mikal. I'm just saying that, like, I'm using him as an example, along with several other guys, where you need a little bit more from them consistently, not kinda in this game and you kinda there, and then you have 1 or 2 really good games, and then you get quiet again for a couple of games. It's just not healthy. It's not healthy. So you have the health, you have healthy guys for the playoffs, but who's going to do the scoring? So what does the brink of the offense fall on who? Brunson, OG, Towns, and who else? So that means the other guys, if you get a game or two with one or two guys, maybe Deuce and Bridges have a good game, or Precious and Cam have a good game, and it could work, I guess. But how far is that going to get the Knicks? I'm not sure how far that can get you. Listen, I think even the first round for the Knicks, I feel like it's going to be a challenge like it was when we faced the Sixers the first round last year. I think it's going to be a challenge for sure. And if the Knicks were to start the playoffs now, they would be playing Detroit. Detroit's not a terrible team like they were in years past. And let's not forget, they beat the Knicks. So, and then, okay, you get past the second round, you can't beat Cleveland, Boston. You haven't figured out how to beat those two teams. Cleveland's won 12 straight games. They don't really know what losing feels like. That's a foreign language to them. So if you can't figure out how to beat teams like the Warriors, how to beat the teams like who else? Boston, Cleveland, there's a problem there. At one point we couldn't figure out how to beat the Bulls this season. Lost to them twice. And then finally figured out how to beat them. And even that game was close. And then not to mention, you still got to worry about hypothetically Milwaukee, Indiana, who we struggled against in the second round last year. And I just mentioned Detroit. Oh, and let's not forget the Miami Heat game that we just won was a close game as well. So a lot of these Knicks games have been very close wins. A win is a win, we'll take it. And I'm not expecting every game to be a blowout game. But at some point, you got to be able to turn the gears in certain games. Example, the Warrior game that the Knicks just played against the Warriors. And you have to be able to overcome and get past those teams and build upon a comfortable lead that you can maintain throughout the remainder of the game. And, listen, the Lakers are on a 7-game win streak. You think they're going to try to allow the Knicks to beat them at home, and now they have Luka? They have Luka Doncic. They just beat the New Orleans Pelicans. Prior to that, they beat the Clippers back to back. Then they beat the Timberwolves. They beat Dallas. So again, we struggled against the Lakers the last game. I think towards the end, I turned it because it was just like, it was a wrap. Luka had 30. This is against New Orleans. Luka had 30. He's been averaging 30, by the way. Jackson Hayes had 19 and 10. LeBron James, 34 points, 8 rebounds. Vanderbilt, 12. Shake Milton. You remember him? Y'all remember him? He had 12. Played 19 minutes, by the way. Dalton Knight, 13 points. Oh, and leaving LeBron's son added 2 points in that game, had two points. 4 minutes, 2 points. So again, I'm really trying to figure out how do the Knicks get past some of these teams. How do you get past them? Do you suggest that maybe Tibbs sits, I don't know, who do you sit down from the starting lineup so that way you can have a better balance from the bench? Or is that not the answer? And you just say, no, we need to bring in the pieces that we need here. We need a true solid center, right, in case of injuries. And then we need a bona fide scorer here who can score this Knicks team buckets when we need them, who can get to the basket when we need them. Because I've heard some of you say, well, what if we sit Josh Hart and have him coming off the bench? Or what if we start Deuce? Or some of you saying to start Mitch. But it's not, I always say it's not about how you start, it's how you finish the game. So what changes can the Knicks make with the roster that they have now to allow them the space to beat the teams that they need to beat? And I think that this is a serious question. This is a serious question that we really need to think about, because how do you not allow yourselves to be so exposed when you get to the playoffs? And this is the problem with the Knicks. They're going to get to the playoffs. Teams are going to expose the Knicks' weakness and they're going to take off. And we know this Knicks team, they fight. I'll give them that. They fight. They're able to come back. But sometimes it's just not enough. Or sometimes the fight is too late. Sometimes people are not able to they don't have that same basketball IQ like Jalen Brunson, where they're like, yo, let me get to the basket. I don't care who. That's what I really love about Brunson. He has his flaws and he's no perfect player. But the man will do everything in his power to drive to that basket. He's crafty. He can take the contact. He's aggressive. The timing of when he's getting to the basket. And a lot of times, let's keep it a buck. That's what keeps the Knicks in games. Should he pass the ball more? Should he be using a pick and roll more? Yes. But a lot of that is what keeps the Knicks in games, because you don't have anybody else doing that on this team. Again, he didn't have that before we did all the trades and got Carl Anthony. He didn't have that when you had your Toppin Juniors, you had your Randalls, you had your DiVincenzo's. He didn't have that. RJ's, he didn't have that. But I'll say maybe you had a little bit of RJ, but RJ's gotten a lot better since then. Listen, everybody's gotten better once they come from the Knicks and they go to another team. All of a sudden, they're a lot better. Because Grimes all of a sudden has, I don't know, Grimes has found the answer. Something about from coming from the Knicks. RJ Barrett, same thing. They come for the Knicks and they get better when they go to other teams. But that's always been the case from the Knicks. Players go to other teams and then they crush the Knicks. And, you know, we always wonder why they couldn't do that when they was here. That's a whole nother conversation. But if you have to see a player who you want to see step up, or players that you want to see step up, because I want to say who else was kind of annoying me a little bit in that game was Precious Achua. Like sometimes Precious energy is so low that I'm like, is he doing a podcast with me? Like the energy level's real chill. I need him to pick it up and you right near the basket. I don't know. Like he does a lot of little things that don't show up on the stat sheet that I love, I respect, I commend. But he has these moments sometimes where I'm like, you know what? If it may, to me, this is what it comes off like basically you playing in a position you don't want to play in, but you doing it because you sacrificing for the team. Like I don't really want to do that, or the manager stay having me work over there. I ain't get hired to do that, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Like that's what it comes off like to me. So, and I get it. A lot of Knicks players are playing out of position. Guys are having to rotate, but it's all about staying ready. One of Tibbs' favorite things he loves to say, you got to stay ready. And I don't think it's just about staying ready, but also when you're on the bench analyzing, looking at like, okay, what can you do when you come in that game? Reading the game, reading the offense, reading the defense, reading what your teammates are doing, giving advice when they coming into the huddles and the timeouts. It's a lot of that too as well. So I don't know. Tibbs has been going to that 9-10 man rotation. We've seen Shamit getting a nice amount of playing times. We've seen Campaign get playing. Campaign's another one too. And I feel like Shamit did something, a thing or two in the game that I was like, why? Why? But Campaign sometimes he does this thing where he drives and it's a nice drive, but he falls short on the layup and it'll like it doesn't even hit the backboard. It like the ball hits the corner side block of the basket. Or he's wide open for a three and it's an air ball, and it's just like, where's those threes that you was making when we was playing against you in Philly? Are you preserving those for the playoffs? I hope so. I hope so. So I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what's the deal and what player or players would you say this is who I want to see step up and give us a bit more. Like I don't know. Like, what do you? Is it Mikal Bridges? That's for one for me. Yeah, Deuce McBride's another one. I want to see Cat get back in form and back in rhythm, and the Knicks to beat the Lakers tonight because the odds are not against them. The odds are not against them. Who stops Luca? Who do you put on Luca? Is it Josh Hart or do you put Bridges on him? I'm genuinely asking. I'm not. I'm like, who do you put on Luka Doncic and stop him from? I mean, do you cut it? Do you cut it down to 25 points, 24 points instead of 30? Are you feeling the 9-10 man rotation or no? To me, cutting it down, I don't know what difference does that make. I think guys just have to step up. I think guys just have to step up. Salute to the chat, everybody that's here. If you guys haven't already, I'll give you a minute or so to hit that like button if you guys haven't already. Salute to AP. Haven't seen you here in a while, AP. Hope all is well with you. Salute John McDonald. Salute to you as well. Said the Knicks need Moses Brown for insurance, but his center position, he ready to go. Yeah. I don't know if the Knicks right now, I don't think the Knicks are trying to make any major moves or really acquire anybody. I was hoping they would have, but I think the Knicks right now, the front office is on a wait and see. Wait and see. AP said, I think it's the second round and done. Wow. Listen, I can't call it yet, but I don't see the Knicks getting super far with this roster right now. Like there's still some kinks. There's a disconnect still with this roster that they have to fix. The front office has to fine tune. John said, no towns, we look vulnerable. We can talk all we want. If Leon Rose don't make a move, we're not going far. Yeah, Leon is definitely going to make a move. The roster is not going to stay like this after this off season. Again, I don't see it happening for the players because they want to see, well, what can this roster do in the playoffs? And absolutely agreed, when you don't have Karl Anthony Towns and you have a Mitchell Robinson on limited minutes, the Knicks look very vulnerable. Tibbs needs to play Brunson and McBride in the backcourt on this road trip because Bridges looks lethargic. Plus, he not getting to the rim or free throw line. Yeah, I'm not understanding what's going on. I feel like Mikal Bridges is a background singer right now. He just wants to give his vocals the boop, shoot, and that's it. No riffs, no ad libs, if you get an ad lib. But I need him to like step up to the front. This playing to the side in the background, it's not helping us. It's hurting us, to be honest. He's not getting to the free throw line. He occasionally will get the ball on the block. He'll dribble down and then he does that fadeaway midi shot that he does. And he's successful when he does it. He just doesn't do it often enough. And we can't say that there's an argument he doesn't get the ball. He absolutely does get the ball. He's been off. He can't buy a basket. Stinking up the joint. Salute to Wonder Woman. Good evening to you. AP said Leon Rose has made mistakes. What mistakes has he made? Not attacking you. I just really genuinely am asking. I want to know. Should I put McBride on Curry? He covers him very well. What's done is done. Let's move on. Yeah. I think though with McBride sometimes his defense could be excellent defense. And then sometimes he gets so like close to the player that the player is able to go right past McBride because McBride will be like right up on him. He's pesky. He does it very well. He's an annoying defensively. And then sometimes it can be just that split second that can cost him defensively. And then you have a guy that just goes right by him. And now you have to have either Precious, Towns, or Mitchell Robinson to step up and guard whoever went past McBride, right? Nostalgic Nick, salute to you. Yeah, the Lakers are definitely going to get all the calls. I agree with that. They're at home. Parish Duggar salute said Detroit is straight up our team. Last year, they're better than us because of Tibbs. How so? Because they've had player roster issues, coaching issues. I'm curious on that one. Coach Bill, salute to you. Haven't seen you in a while here as well. Salute to you, Coach. Hit him up, NYNJ. As always, salute to you as well. Nostalgic Nick said bench Hart and start Mitch. So you think Josh Hart coming off the bench is a better. So then what do we do with the center position? So if you start Mitch, you're starting Mitch with Karl Anthony, and then you have a trade. What do you bring in Precious Achua? Like, how is that working? I'm curious with the center position. How does that work? We start slow. Hart is hurt more than he says he is. His shot and rebounding is suffering. I think he needs a rest. Yeah. Maybe he'll be, on, I don't know if his birthday was today or yesterday. Maybe that'll help. I don't know. And yeah, I wondered that too. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, I wonder if Josh Hart is really dealing with the injury is a little bit more than what we've been told it is, right? And he's just fighting through it. Which to me, I don't want you to do that because then when the playoffs come, another player makes it worse. Now you out. You're no good to us. Paris said, our biggest problem is Mikal Bridges. Just isn't the offense dog mentality we need him to be. He has the skills. He just doesn't have the mentality. Yeah, I'm not sure what's the deal with that. And it's unfortunate because Mikal is a very healthy player. He doesn't miss games. I'm knocking on a piece of wood for him. But But I don't know. I don't know what it is. I feel like Mikel looked more relaxed and less stressed. And I'm not saying he looks stressed, but just looks a lot less relaxed when he was on Brooklyn, because there isn't really anything to play for. You were like using those games to get better against teams. They weren't a winning team. And now when you go on a team that does win, while it feels good and you're sitting at the top three in the Eastern Conference, at the top five of teams in the league, I think that he is, I don't know. I think that now it's like, all right, now you actually got to be on. You can't be coasting in the background. And a lot of times for us, it just seems like Mikel is coasting. But again, I'm not sleeping on him. He hasn't reached his peak. He has a lot more to give. And maybe this season is just not it. Maybe next year he'll have a breakout season for us, right? Knicks always get off to a slow starts and then they got to play catch up. Yeah, and that's something that hurts the Knicks. Slow starts, slow third quarters. The defense has looked better. It has looked better. I'll give them that, especially like the perimeter defense, but it's not all the way there yet. It's not all the way there yet. Start Shamit over Josh Hart. So a lot of you want Josh coming off, a few of you want Josh coming off the bench. Do you think Josh is going to play good coming off the bench? Shamit seems to have found his ground, his footing here with the Knicks. I like the way he's been playing as of late. He hustles. I love that. He gives the effort. Two things that I really like. And I like Campaign too because I like the mentality. It's very positive. It's like, all right, get him on the next one. And those are the kind of players you need on the team. Those are the kind of players you need on the team. Letting Sims go for Precious was a disastrous decision. Sims was better on guarding the bigs on other games. Yeah, but that was really all Sims was able to do. He couldn't score. Sims was like Mitchell Robinson 2.0, just not as good. And I don't think the Knicks have time for another player like that. Like, you need a guy who is not in a box. And to me, Sims was stuck in a box. He only could do but so much. Precious, you can get a little bit more. I just think that Precious is just not as tall as a Sims, but he's very much in shape. He's strong. He can at least give you the baskets. I just think sometimes with him too, it's like, I don't know, sometimes with the mentality where guys' heads are at, and I get that some nights you're going to be off. It's not going to be a game. I get that. But I don't know. Silk Sutton salute said, Lady Precious might be out tonight because of tight hamstring. I did read that. I didn't see anything with him saying that he was for sure going to be out. But I did read that he has a tight hamstring, might have played kind of hurt. That is not good news. Salute to you, Silk Sutton. Yeah, I don't, this is what's concerning to me with the Knicks, right? You getting close to the playoffs and your players are now starting to incur injuries here and there, and I would rather guys, if they're hurt, be out and come back when you're healthy instead of them trying to play through it. It just makes it worse. It just doesn't make any sense. Kareem Grant, salute. Always showing love. Salute to you. So hell no, I'm not putting Josh Hart on Luka. So who you putting on Luka? Juan B, salute to you. Respect the two Knicks chicks in the chat. Hit the likes and share the video. Support your content creators. You heard them. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Juan said the Knicks had a problem with the Lakers without Anthony Davis. Now the Lakers are even better defensively and playing better since that game. Luka has hit 11 threes in the last two games. The role players are just doing their job. Yeah. And that's a key part of what you wrote. The role players are doing their job. Something that our role players on the Knicks have to adapt to doing on a consistent basis, doing their job, right? Knowing your role, playing your role, and doing your job. And if the Knicks are not prepared and a step too slow tonight, it's going to hurt them. Ian Begley said they're looking at PJ Tucker for leadership. I hope not. Who would even be looking for PJ Tucker for leadership? He barely could even get it on a team. He's been on so many teams. It's not even funny. You think Leon made a mistake with Bridges? I don't think so. Because I think, again, some fans question the Knicks giving OG all that money. Oh, he's injury prone. He's not going to be able to be with us. And I know that that was a lot of picks that the Knicks gave up to get Mikal Bridges here, but I don't think that he's going to be playing like this. I don't want to say in the playoffs, but I think next year it's going to be a different ball game. I think he's going to be like, okay, he's going to watch film, he's going to get better, and he'll be more of an asset for this team. And he can be. We know what he can do. I'm just not sure where's the disconnect this year. You know, I get it. I hear a lot of you. The Mikal Bridges trade does look like a bad trade, right? At times, because you're like, yo, Mikal, where he been at? Where he been at? So MBM, salute to you. Who else is here? I agree, Kareem. Pressure should not play center. He's a power forward. But see, that's the problem with the Knicks. When you didn't have Cat, who was playing center, when Mitch was on the bench getting rest, Precious. Precious is just too small to play center. I hate to see him out there. He looks like a lone wolf. It looks like me trying to be out there trying to get a rebound and guard. It's just awful. Awful, awful, awful. Agreed, nostalgic Nick. Mikal he's really good. He's not just good, he's really good. It's the fans are starting these narratives. Yeah. And I mean, it's also the media world. You know what I mean? They're going by what he's not doing. But when he's on, he's on. I agree. He's just been quite streaky for us and at times playing in the background, which hasn't helped this Knicks team. So I just believe that Tibbs ain't using Bridges right. I've always said that about Tibbs, though. When Tibbs has good shooters on his team, Tom Thibodeau is not the type of coach that he knows how to utilize those shooters. He doesn't. He I sometimes when I look at the offense, I have always felt like that when Tibbs being the head coach. Sometimes I feel like that with Bridges. Sometimes I feel like that with Shamit. I felt like that when we had Grimes. I felt like Tibbs didn't set up plays in the scheme so that the shooters could get the touches and get the clean shot offs that they should be able to have. I don't know. I've always felt like that, and I still do feel like that about Tibbs, that he doesn't utilize shooters when he has them really good shooters on a team properly, and the schematics are kind of like, you look at a play when you watching them when they're on offense, and you're like, that's what y'all drew up, like. Why didn't you have this guy cutting across or faking and coming off a curl? And, when you watch Curry, that's why he's so successful too. Curry tires out whoever's playing defense on him. And not only that, although they're not the same Warriors team, they move without the ball really well and they cut. And the Knicks, again, they move away from what works. When we had the ball in that Warriors game, no one was moving. Everyone was just standing along the perimeter. You had whoever Mitch or Precious was kind of like in the middle. They would set a screen, they would wait in, they would kick the ball. There was nothing. And the Knicks, they were exposed too, because when you don't have Carl Anthony who can make a move to the basket on a post or shoot the three or fake and then get drive to the basket, Mitchell Robinson, if you're not going to use the pick and roll, then he's just standing there and he's waiting for someone to shoot to do his part of the job. But the Knicks, I don't know, and I like Tibbs. I do. I like Tibbs, but there's a lot with Tibbs that I question, or I don't like the way he utilizes things. And a part of it is that I think the Knicks need a more modern coach, someone who could say, "This is what I'm looking for," implement systems, and this is what I'm expecting on a night in, night out basis. And a coach where the Knicks players will be utilized well and they'll adapt to that system and say, okay, we on board. We're going to do this. We're going to get better. We're learning from our mistakes. We're not repeating the same cycle over and over and over again. I get that when you see what's on paper for the stats for the Knicks, it says one thing, but when you watch, it's a different thing. I get that. But I think if you look at the overall route, the Knicks, a lot of times when you watch, you look at last year, the year before last, we're looking at the same problems. And I think we're all ready. We've been waiting decades. Yes, I understand I have no choice but to be patient, but how much longer are we going to keep watching them make the same mistakes? I'm not talking about at the beginning of the season. I'm talking about like collectively as a whole, like the defense just not showing better signs of like a stronger effort defensively each game. I'm talking about the Knicks being more consistent. Like you have one or two games where the Knicks, you're like, hell yeah. Guys are moving without the ball. The ball movement is there. Jalen Brunson being vocal. He's sharing the ball more, utilizing a pick and roll. The effort is there. You see guys talking to each other. Guys know where they're supposed to be. Plays look like they're actually being ran and there's actual plays being ran. I think that there's a disconnect on that too. Because I truly believe you may, as a coach, you may not have every piece, every player to the puzzle that you need, but you can turn a team around and make them better. Not knocking Tibbs because he's done that with this Knicks team. But I think that, okay, you made the team a better team, but now you got to sharpen the tools. Sharpen the tools and make them even better than they were. And I get that the Knicks are missing certain pieces to the puzzle. I get that. Right. And that the front office is working on that. Tibbs is working with what he has. I understand that. But I'm getting a little tired of seeing the Knicks making the same mistakes or we're playing the same type of basketball. Up and down, up and down. Good, up, down. We need better balance. That's what this next team needs, better balance. They do not have good balance. So I don't know. Salute to Kenneth Thatcher. I see you in the chat as well. Eddie C, salute to you as well. Yeah, the Knicks are for sure in the playoffs. Playoffs is a different animal though. So again, you get to the first round. First round started Tomorrow you be playing Detroit. Cade Cunningham does whatever he wants against the Knicks and looks at them like, who gonna check me? Because none of y'all could check me. He's not lying. I haven't seen one person from the Knicks check him yet. And he's playing at a whole different level now. Salute to Eddie C. He said the goal this year was Eastern Conference Finals. Absolutely agreed. Are we revising this goal in view of the inconsistent play? I think that still needs to be the goal. We need to keep the standards high. We can't drop it because they're playing inconsistent. I think the Knicks, like many teams, know how to turn it on. I think as long as we have healthy guys, there should be no excuses in the playoffs this year. The Knicks just have to go after it. My biggest thing when it comes to the playoffs, other guys have to play their role and add contributions to the game. Like it can't fall heavily on Brunson, Cat, Mitchell Robinson, and like OG. And then you look at the rest of the guys, and I'll even say Josh Hart, because he hustles a lot and he comes alive and does things. But then you look and then maybe you're not really getting enough from Deuce, Cam, Shamit, Precious. And you're kind of like, it's the same 5-6 guys have to carry the bulk of the weight, and they're hustling and fighting. Then when you get those other guys coming and they're giving you a decent effort, but it's not the same effort that those other 5 or 6 guys are giving you. I think everybody has to be 100% every game in the playoffs. Because like, okay, cool, you get past round 1. What you gonna do in round 2? Because it only gets harder. Kareem, I said the same thing. I don't understand why, for Christ's sakes, do the Knicks keep looking at Taj like, Taj, you won us a championship? I'm gonna be honest, I was never a fan of Taj Gibson when he was here. He was just a body here to me. And I think that, like, this is what I mean. We have to stop bringing players here that are just a body that's going to run up and down the floor and go with the motions of defense and go with the motions of offense. For all of that, then you could have kept Jericho Sims here. Why the hell would you bring Todd? Why is Taj Gibson even in the conversation? Why? I don't understand that. I don't understand why is this guy still being brought up as somebody the Knicks just let it go. Cut your ties, cut it. At this point, it's like, stop. Stop it. You can't be for real talking about bringing Taj Gibson back to this team. For what? For what? I'm done. I'm telling you. I'm going to crash out if they bring it back. I'm going to crash out. You do not need Taj Gibson back on this team. I'm sorry. You bring him here, and what is he going to do that Mitchell Robinson already can't do? That Carl Anthony can't already do? If you bring Taj, like I said, you should have just kept Jericho Sims here. So, Eastern Conference Finals is the target. NBA Finals is the dream. Yeah, waiting for that dream to become a reality. And the media is thirsty for stories, just like they're throwing out. It doesn't seem to be sticking, but they're throwing out the whole Kevin Durant coming to the Knicks. Kevin Durant doesn't want to come here. Doesn't want to come here. Would the Knicks fans be forgiving if he came here? Absolutely. the bad taste to leave their mouths very quickly if he came here. MBM said, we third in offense efficiency. I don't understand. The offense is not the problem. It's the defense that's the problem. You know, it's unfortunate with Hook. He was starting to get playing time. And of course, the game he starts, he gets hurt. Unfortunate. Now, Ariel Hukporty, I want to see him play. That's who I want to see. I don't want to see Taj Gibson. I want to see somebody who's going to go out there and give effort. Somebody who's going to be gritty and tough. That's why I like Hukporty. He's gritty. He's tough. He ain't afraid to get dunked on. He remind me of he looked like he could be Randall's cousin, but he remind me of Isaiah Hartenstein. Dunk on me all you want. I'm gonna come back and get you right back, or I'm gonna block your shot next time down. He hustles. He reads the defense. You could tell he's always learning. He's taking heed from the advice that he's getting. He's hungry. So Kenneth Hatcher said, Tibbs got till next year. Listen, I'm on board with that. He got one more, and then I'm done. I'm done. You know, I think the Knicks, I don't think we could keep giving Tibbs the excuse of not having the right players. He has who he has, right? So, no, our boys don't communicate on the floor, Eddie. I agree with that. It's been in the media, the sports world. They've been saying that it was a group of guys. It was Taj and a couple of guys. They were saying they were thinking about possibly bringing to the Knicks team. So we'll see. But what are y'all predictions for tonight's game and tomorrow's game? Knicks playing back-to-back, two late ones at that. But listen, you guys got a great episode of Dope Soul Sports and Knicks Talk. I believe they're coming on now. That should be a great convo. Shout out to Steph, Ajay, Jeff should be back on, and Jarrell. Salute to you all. My Knicks family. Shout out to all the Knicks content creators. I watch and listen to you all. They get me through my day. I'm here for the laughs, the information, the perspectives. And shout out to the chat. I love when you guys are active and you're throwing things out. I love it. And you're here for my antics. Shout out to you all. And shout out to the replay gang as well. Those of you who are new here, welcome. Shout out to my other heavy hitter, Diva Lock. She's not with us today, but shout out to her as well. She's the other half of Two Knicks Chicks. And yeah, Hukporty is out 4 to 6 weeks. Not sure if that's extended or not, but yeah. But yeah, I got the Knicks 1-1 between the next two games. We'll see what happens. I will be tuned into tonight's game. And then, yeah, I'll be back on Sunday to do a recap and discuss tonight's game and tomorrow's Clippers game, and do a kind of recap and then a pregame to Monday's game, another late one against the Kings. So everybody do me a favor and hit that like button, tell a friend to tell a friend, and I'll see everybody Sunday.